You hear that? That distinct lack of white noise? Sounds nice. I got my new headset. It's pretty nice. Don't get used to this, though, for now, because I can only use it during the draft portion, because I am currently still playing on my Ultrabook, so when actually playing the games, I need my little cooling mat plugged in, otherwise my little computer will heat up and probably just catch fire. But for the draft, it doesn't tax it too much, so I figure we should probably at least have good sound quality there. Had a really good draft. Not really good. My expectations are now like super low, where going even is like super good for me. But it was really good for our Eldraine history. With a mono red deck, went 3-2, so we got enough to just do another draft, and it was all profit on those cards. A lot of red. Excuse me, every deck I played except for one was red, and the one deck I didn't play that wasn't red was so bad. It was weird. I don't know why they did it. They were playing like 2 copies of, at a minimum, they played, what I saw was 2 copies of Mystic Sanctuary and an Idyllic Grange in the same deck. Please don't do that. Actually, do it when you're playing against me, because I'll take those free wins, because I'm not above it when gems are on the line. But yeah, red is pretty open, it seems like. It seems like a lot of people are drafting it, so that is good information to have. It means red cap melee is just like an insane bomb removal spell, because if most people are playing red, then you almost will never even have the downside of it, because, you know, like I don't think I sacrificed a land to red cap melee once during that last draft, because I just always had good red targets to hit, you know, maybe once, but like I spewed off a lot of red cap melees, and I did not sacrifice a lot of lands to do so. But it's good. It also means that when you get to higher ranks, if you're playing red, or higher win rates, your opponents probably, if they're a red deck, probably also have many copies of red cap melee, which is kind of interesting. It kind of makes that card like a little busted. But you know, and I say that as somebody who had 2 last game. Like, it's just kind of silly because of how that specific hate card works. But that's okay. It was still fun matches. Let's play again. I mean, we'll do what the draft lets us, but if we can play something that's not red, because we played red a few times recently, but we'll do whatever we get, you know? Wow, a lot of good cards here. Shoot. Pop it into this mode for now. A lot of good black cards. Witch's Vengeance is pretty strong. I'm having a tough time picking between this and Sir Conrad. Reasons why, which I think Sir Conrad might be a more powerful card than Witch's Vengeance, although Witch's Vengeance at minimum is just like a sorcery speed murder. But I think I might take Witch's Vengeance because there's also red cap melee in the pack, so maybe we'll end up Rakdos. If we ended up in a deck that itself is Knights, and we go up against a lot of red decks, which tend to have a fair amount of Knights, Witch's Vengeance gets stronger and stronger, and if red is overrepresented in draft right now, that means we'll play a lot more Knight decks. So this card is possibly even better than it looks. But if we end up in a Knight deck, then it's kind of awkward. Because then we'll have to just pick an obscure, maybe secondary typing, and only get 1 kill off of it. Whereas Sir Conrad is just always good. But I think Witch's Vengeance is probably correct. Unfortunately, we have to pick between these 2 cards. Got a Thunderous Snapper, which is pretty good. We got a Lucky Clover, which I'm happy to pick early to try and build around. And I probably will take it. The Thunderous Snapper is okay. It doesn't impress me all that much. I haven't been impressed with the Simic deck that much. But it's obviously a very good 4-drop if you're already in those colors and you have reason to be there. Lucky Clover keeps us open, you know. Serum Barrage and Outmuscle are both extremely good cards as well, but I want to take the card that keeps us a little bit open and then also has a really, really high ceiling. Alright, so after I said we weren't going to take the Hydra, an Arcanist Owl is a really strong card. It's strong enough that I'll probably take it here because, you know, it's just like, if you can draw most of the time with it, it's really strong. and it's just fine as a 4-mana 3/3 with flying. And everything else in the pack is pretty lackluster. No black cards to break any ties or anything. So 4th pick, Red Cap Melee. Seems like this might be happening. Nothing else in the pack is all that interesting, so we'll just quickly snap up the Red Cap Melee here and see what we have going. I got a Youthful Knight, a Fairy Guidemother, a Merchant of the Veil. Some pretty decent cards in like white. Witch's Vengeance seems like it probably won't get played. Play a Youthful Knight, maybe we'll get into Boros aggro. Which might not be a train wreck since we know how to game the arena shuffler a little bit, but this card is probably the best in the pack. It's just a really good, solid card. Following that up with Rimrock Knight. Seems like we might be doing something with red, not surprisingly. We're on pick 6, so we're almost at the point where we're going to see a wheel card. See if that Red Cap Melee wheels again like it did in the last draft. That was silly. Do I want Spin Swordmaster or do I want Lonesome Unicorn? Spin Sword, so I'm basically asking the question, do I want Witch's Vengeance over the Youthful Knight? Witch's Vengeance becomes a lot weaker if we're in a Knight's deck, is the thing, so probably the correct pick here is to maybe take the Lonesome Unicorn. It works with Lucky Clover, not that Spin Swordmaster doesn't. Spin Swordmaster is excellent with Lucky Clover, but we haven't seen a lot of black. We've seen a fair amount of like Boros. I think that Lonesome Unicorn is the pick here, and we're going to maybe move into a red-white deck. Got an Outflank. Pretty excited about this card. I think it's quite good. Golden Egg is fine, but I don't think we need it too much in this sort of deck. So I think we'll happily take an Outflank here. The Red Cap Melee, of course, wheel tables. Bots, major leak by the bots, but we'll exploit it. We'll take a Brimstone Trebuchet here, and I think at this point we're pretty happy to go ahead and just cut these out. None of these are all that exciting. Maybe Crashing Drawbridge if we're just against a better aggro deck. Not sure. Raging Red Cap, totally fine. Red card. Dwarven Mine probably doesn't get played. It's not very high impact, especially for 2-color, but if we end up mono red again, we'll definitely play it. Okay, Harmonious Archon is obviously a bomb, and we have a couple white cards, so we're probably looking to play a Boros deck. So this isn't really particularly that close. Of course, also being an aggro deck, we have a lot of smaller creatures for the most part. So making them into 3/3s almost benefits us more often than not, but our opponents will probably also benefit too if red is really what we're seeing all the time. Turning creatures into 3/3s, make them easily killable by Red Cap Melee, you know, more easy to kill Outflank. Like, this is very good synergy with, like, a lot of the removal in our deck. And yeah, like, a lot of our cards are just much better if they get buffed. Like, right now, every single one of our cards either are unaffected. Lonesome Unicorn is the only creature that doesn't get boosted by the Harmonious Archon. And then, of course, just the fact that it's a 4/5 flying is insane. Ooh, Sir Eleanor is pretty good. There's like nothing in this pack for us. Might take the Gingerbrute. Might take the 7 Dwarves. This is probably early enough in the draft that speculating on 7 Dwarves isn't a terrible idea. It's probably between 7 Dwarves and the Gingerbrute. Gingerbrute has really good synergy with the Harmonious Archon because it's like a 3/3 that can't be blocked, but 7 Dwarves then starts out as a 3/3 and just only goes up from there, which is probably just better, because this card is probably better in our deck without the Archon than the Gingerbrute is, I think. So we will pick it up here and see if we can make it happen. Oh my god. I don't want to pick between these cards. I wish I could take Surkara and Inspiring Veteran. Surkara is a stronger card, pretty noticeably, even though, the Anthem effect can't be understated. It's possible that if we're the only one in Boros and the bots are drafting properly, Inspiring Veteran is the sort of thing, being a narrow gold card, if we're the only ones doing Boros, it should wheel. Scorching Dragonfire won't, of course. So I think that we're going to take Surkara, just because it's a stronger card, it's in our colors, and there's a chance we could still get the, whatever it's called. Whew. Fireborn Knight, an excellent payoff for being Boros Knights. This card is just insane, especially since we have no problem casting it. We're going to be playing essentially a deck where this is just 4 generic mana, which is awesome. So we'll pick it up here. Okay, things are getting a little bit less exciting now. I'll probably take the Silver Flame Squire. The On Alert is an extremely powerful effect. You really like to have it. I feel bulletproof whenever I have this in my hand and the ability to cast it. Nothing really interesting here. Thrill Possibility is fine in like a one of, especially since we're going to run like 17 lands. It allows us to mill that what is probably like an extra land that we don't really want in exchange for 2 cards. So I'll probably play one of these. Pick up the second 7 dwarves here. See if we can't get there. Nothing too exciting here. Maybe a Claim the Firstborn. For the sideboard, I probably like Claim the Firstborn out of the sideboard more than I like Embereth Paladin in the main board, especially because we're wanting to be a little aggressive, and Embereth Paladin is like 4 mana, and considering the cards I have at that slot, like, doesn't seem very impressive comparatively, so I'll probably take Claim the Firstborn as a sideboard pick. It's really late Steelclaw lands. Guess no one's playing Rakdos either, but black is being taken, so we'll take the Bloodhaze Wolverine here. It's not a knight. We don't really have knight payoffs yet since we didn't see the, what's the word I'm looking for? Or since we probably aren't going to see that Inspiring Veteran, because I think that's going to be pick 10 or something, maybe pick 11, and by then it's just like, certainly a bot will have snapped it up. But this is just a fine 2-drop, and we're doing a lot better for having 2-drops this draft as an aggro deck, but, can't have too many 2-drops in an aggro deck. Take the Jousting Dummy. I think it's a fine. It's a knight. Worse with the Brimstone Trebuchet. Do not like Beloved Princess, but probably the most likely to make the deck. It's a really like Garenbrig Paladin. I think I might take the third to 7 dwarves over the second Raging Redcap, just because if we can get there, we can really get there. 3 is pretty decent, and we're going into pack 3. Well, I want to play Rankle, but I think that going black has sailed. The pick here is fairly obvious. Scorching Dragonfire I think is just better than Clockwork Servant, considering we're in a... I mean, just in general, I think it's better. And also, we're not in a monocolor deck, so it's a lot less powerful. Snap that up. Some good removal. Enchanted Carriage is okay. It's a little expensive for our taste is the problem. I'd be happy if like these were the 3 most expensive cards in our deck. I guess this too, but I kind of think of it as a 3-drop. Rimrock Knight. It's pretty good, but I think I have to take Scorching Dragonfire over it. If, again, assuming, kind of operating on the assumption that red's going to be a little overrepresented, we will probably see a lot of, like, aggro decks. And we're definitely an aggressive deck, don't get it twisted, but also we're a deck that scales pretty well because we get good cards like Fireborn Knight that likes, you have to have 4 mana to cast it, and then having more mana is nice for it. Sarkar is a good card at 5, Harmony Sarkhan's insane, like, we could potentially play the slower deck in a lot of our matchups, especially aggro matchups. Rimrock Knight is good, it could wheel though. Scorching Dragonfire won't, and I think considering what we're trying to build towards with our deck, this is the correct call. Well, neither of these are... I mean, this would be exciting if we could cast it, but while we are in a situation where, kind of last game, where we decided, hey, let's not play white in our deck, we didn't have a Harmonious Archon then, so we're going to play white, even if, we could just take this and go for mono red. That being said, it's possible we play this and then we play like a 10-7 split, because we don't really care about white super early. I mean, we want to get like at least 1 white mana early, but then like this is essentially again still like 4 colorless, and this is like a little later on. I'm just trying to currently decide if it's better than a Weaselback Red Cap, basically, and I think it might be worth speculating on. We'll consider it. I think the payoff, if we can fit the Rampart Smasher in our deck, is pretty high. Ardenvale Tactician, pushing us further away from playing, heavy red. Okay, we got a couple things here. Really like the Rimrock Knight, like Youthful Knight. I think I like Rimrock Knight more than Fairy Guide Mother. I just do. I think it's just probably a bit stronger. I'm a big fan of the Rimrock Knight. Oh man, okay, this is actually kind of a choice. Because Ogre Errant is a good card to have, but is it as good as our 4th 7 dwarves? Like, this card can just be obscene. It might not be that good. Let's check our knights. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. We have some good ones. I mean, gosh, like the wombo combo of like Ogre Errant and like Fireborn Knight is pretty egregious, but I think that the 7 dwarves can just like get crazy, and I think that we want to go for that actually. Nothing really interesting. Blood Wolverine probably doesn't make the deck. It's just not good enough. Ember Shieldbreaker definitely makes the deck. Oh my gosh, it's a good card to see 8th pick. Swordflame Squire is a good card that probably will make the deck if we can help it. Take a True Love's Kiss for the sideboard. I don't think any of these cards are going to make the final cut, but possible sideboard inclusions, like I said. Fortifying Provisions might actually not be a bad sideboard card if we're in like an aggro matchup where a lot of our creatures are just the same toughness as the opponent's power, because then suddenly like we trade a lot better. All right, so we got 43. Probably do have the 9-8 split because we have enough early white drops that we want to get going. We have double white for Arden Vale relatively early. We do want to make sure that we have double white for turn 6, though that's not really a concern as much. Got a lot of good cards. Bloody Wolverine is probably weak enough, and it's not a knight. I still like the Thrill of Possibility because of our commitment to running 17 lands. Jousting Dummy is a filler knight. It's not that exciting. Everything else I really like. It's the problem. Obviously, cutting a 7 dwarves is kind of tempting, but the thing is, like, the more you have 7 dwarves, the better it gets. But, like, what else do I cut? Lonesome Unicorn is pretty good. I mean, I can make 2 knights if I combo it with Lucky Clover. Let's look at Lucky Clover really quickly, though. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It's pretty good. Doubling any of those are like real strong effects is the thing. Unlike last time when we cut our white where it was just like 1, 2 white cards. And then Rimrock Knight alone was not enough to convince me to run the Lucky Clover. But is it enough now? Maybe I cut the Thrill of Possibility before I think it's probably between Thrill of Possibility and Lucky Clover. And I think the upside of Lucky Clover is just a lot. I mean, we don't hate getting mana in this deck. If we get to 4 mana, we can cast Fireborn Knight. We can also double spell at the 2-drop slot. Getting to 5 means that we can 2 and 3, or 5. Getting to 6 means that we know we can cast Archon whenever we get it. The possibility is pretty good. I do like drawing cards. These are probably non-negotiable because they're good removal spells. Reaching Redcap's very good with combat tricks, which we have in abundance. Brimstone Trebuchet is pretty good, and I like it in a Knights deck. How heavy Knights are we? We have 8. 8 of our creatures are Knights. Maybe the Brimstone Trebuchet is too weak for this. Maybe it's not really that strong of a Knights deck to consider it. We do have a lot. It's not really a Knights deck so much, as it is kind of just like a Boros aggro deck. So this seems quite strong actually as well. Once again, red was pretty much wide open. We could have drafted mono red if we wanted to, and we probably would have had we not opened Harmonious Archon in Pack 2. But, so that's interesting. I'm not the biggest fan of, like, red decks, and, like, if everything is aggro, I'm not super down with that. I'll probably get bored of that really fast, even if I, win a fair bit with it, now that hopefully, with this 17 land thing, I know what's going on. Even if I win a lot with that, it might get dull fast, which is not great, because, you like to see some diversity, and I was told that these bots were supposed to improve diversity, and so far I've just seen many different shades of red. But that was one set, so we'll see. Who knows? Yeah. We'll call it there. I think those are the correct cuts. I'll think about it for a little bit. Maybe I will come around on the Brimstone Trebuchet. Could also possibly be a sideboard card. But I think that drawing 2 cards is just really good, especially in a deck where we might want to dump some lands. Like, I think that could probably serve us pretty well, so I think the Thrill is actually a good pick. And the Brimstone only has 8 things that can untap it. I don't know if our deck is that excited about doing 1 per turn with a 3-drop. Unless we can, like, turbo out, 10 Knights at least probably is where I would want to be for this Brimstone Trebuchet. But we just have so many 7 Dwarves. And I think that this is actually, like, going to be the story of our deck, is if we ever get into a point where we're just like, well, I got 3 7 Dwarves out. So, got a bunch of 4/4s. That's pretty exciting. But we'll see. Deck seems quite good. Hopefully we never get into that awkward situation where we Empress Shieldbreaker with a Lucky Clover to then have to destroy our own Lucky Clover, but cross that bridge if we get to it. Yeah. Looking at the deck in terms of what we would sideboard in. Fortifying Provisions would be pretty good if we were sideboarding against, if we're sideboarding against another aggro deck that is probably a little faster than us. Like I said, we'll probably, despite having like a stack 2-drop slot, we do have cards that like going a little later into the game. So potentially we could be the slow deck some amount of the time. Fortifying Provisions would let us trade, much more favorably in a situation where, like, they got a lot of 1 toughness creatures. So maybe, but like if our 7 dwarves were trying to smack up against like other X2s, or sorry, 2, like 2 power creatures, that prevents, that helps out. It's decent with the Raging Red cap because it means that creatures have to have at least like 3 power to destroy it. Ardenvale Tactician, it's pretty good because it becomes a 2/4. Firebolt Knight becomes really good because it's even harder to block it profitably. Sarkara gets out of like Scorching Dragonfire range. Lost Unicorn's pretty good. Harmonious Archon gets out of Searing Barrage range. Like, this is a good sideboard card against like a red deck, probably. Obviously not mainboardable at all. True Love's Kiss. If we see a lot of artifacts or enchantments from our opponent and we think we're going to be playing like a slightly slower game, so that we can put one of these in here. We can take Claim the Firstborn in a deck where we're like way more aggressive than they are, and like the one thing standing in our way is like the spider or something, like a small but impactful blocker, Play the Crashing Drawbridge for the same reason if we get like bodied by a really aggressive strategy. Same with the Brimstone Trebuchet. But definitely we'll probably be on the aggressive, and then we can use like our few top end threats to kind of end games if they kind of stale. If we reach a stalemate, we just need to like push damage through with our double striker that we can pump, or just ping them out with Sarkara, or just play our Harmonious Archon, and then, provided they can't remove it, probably win shortly after that. Got a lot of good stuff going on with the deck, so obviously Harmonious Archon and Fortifying Provisions have insane synergy as well. But yeah, so it's a pretty good deck. Probably play it a little later, maybe even later tonight. I don't have much going on, so I'll probably be done work and study at a decent hour, and I'll have some free time in the evening to cool off. So until then, see ya.